All right, for today's video review, we're going to be taking a look at Transformers Legacy United Core Class Beast Wars Universe Tasmania Kid. Or, if you prefer, this could also be a new version of Beast Wars Snarl, because pretty much Snarl and Tasmania Kid were the same figure. There might have been like slight changes, but he really was one of the ones where the American and the Japanese version were not much different at all. The reason that they named this Tasmania Kid is because, it's meant to be the character from Beast Wars the second Tasmania Kid, who, actually had media appearances, unlike Snarl, who was just part of the toy line. But I've always just kind of thought of them as the same character. Like in Japan, Optimus Prime is called Convoy, but Convoy and Optimus Prime are the same character, right? And I just kind of think of that as like, yeah, Tasmania Kid is the Japanese name for Snarl, but I tend to think of him as Snarl just because I feel like the name Tasmania Kid is also really stupid, like even for, the dumb Beast Wars naming convention standards. So I prefer to think of him as Snarl, but technically he is Tasmania Kid, so whatever. But yeah, obviously turns into a little Tasmanian devil here. And yeah, it's a pretty good mode. I think it's a little bit more like shapely and actually, somewhat more accurate than the original Snarl toy, which was just kind of like a big blob. It wasn't one of the flip changers from the first year. I think it was one of the ones from the second year. I've never picked that one up, but so it's nice to actually get this one to be a fill-in for that. But yeah, no, in terms of articulation, the jaw can open pretty wide there, actually more wide than it needs to for transformation, but that's nice. But no other head articulation. The front legs here are on swivels, and then the back legs here, they do peg into place, but if you untab them, they have a little bit of range there, and they also, when you untab them, they actually fit a little bit more onto these pieces. It's weird how there's like a gap here when these are actually tabbed into place, but yeah, whatever. And then the knees are on ball joints, and then the feet, feet are on ball joints as well. Yeah, that's the one thing I'm not crazy about with this alt mode, is that the back feet are just human hands, which is really creepy looking. But if you just don't think about them, they can't hurt you. It's not terrible. I get why they did it, but it's yeah, it's a little bit unsettling. I'm not crazy about that. But yeah, otherwise pretty decent Tasmanian Devil mode. He does kind of have a little bit of cheating here for the chest and robot mode, which I kind of understand why they did for this guy, but that is sort of visible on the bottom of the alt mode. But otherwise, it's a pretty decent little mode here. Also, I find that I wish that the scalp kind of like clicked into place a little bit more, because if you have everything tabbed into place, it does stay down pretty decently, but there's always just like a very, very slight gap there where you're just a little bit more aware of the panel line than you'd like to be. But that's kind of a nitpick. But yeah, in terms of comparisons in this mode, just for the standard one, here he is with Kingdom Sideswipe, just so you can see what he looks like with an average size deluxe. For an average core class figure, Beast Wars one at that, here he is with Kingdom Rat Trap, just so you can see what they look like together. There was some speculation for a while that that Tasmanian Kid would actually be a retool of Rat Trap, which I think could have worked if they had, just prioritized it so that the jaw became the chest and the head didn't become the feet, rather than the way that they did it where they prioritized the head becoming the feet and not the jaw becoming the chest. It could have worked if they just like retooled the head here, but it's cool to see him as his own mold as well. And then for other comparisons, here he is with Lio Convoy, or Leo Prime, from Legacy Evolution. And then a few other cast members. Here he is with Clawjaw or Scuba. Here he is with Baboom or Apache, and here he is with Bone Crusher or Bighorn. I think his name was Bighorn. So you can see what he looks like with some other Beast Wars the second cast members there. And like I said, even though I prefer to think of these guys as Bone Crusher, Clawjaw, and Baboom, I still kind of consider them all the same characters. So it's nice to actually have these guys as a team together. I'd really like to get a new version of Clawjaw, because I feel like while Clawjaw's robot mode is great, his squid mode is it's a little abstract, and I would be interested to see what they could do with a new version of checking out, which they might do, since they did Tasmania Kid. Maybe they'll do like a core class Scuba in a later line. That would be pretty cool. But yeah, no, I think that they all look pretty cool together. But yeah, to get on to transformation, first thing you want to do is just kind of rip off the tail here. That's just going to be his weapon in robot mode. I find that it's like you can kind of pull it out, but you can also bend it down a little bit, and that helps get it out a little bit better because it kind of does like it like clips over this sort of like hollow section on the gun, so it's not super easy to just like pull straight out, but yeah, it's fine. But yeah, we can just put that off to the side for now. Take the arms and just untab them here from these side panels, which then allows us to rotate these back like that, and then you can take the front legs here and just rotate them down onto the backpack. And then we can kind of, these steps kind of have to happen like annoyingly at the same time. But basically what you want to do is just untab this back section and then split the head down the middle. And then these will be his legs. So you kind of have to like both bring the armatures that the arms are on up and bring the legs around at the same time so they can move past each other, which is a little bit annoying. I wish it could just happen one before the other, but not the end of the world. So you can bring the legs fully down like that. Bring down the Tasmanian devil head, and then just open up the jaw to become the heel there, rather than the original toy, which had its own separate heel spurs, and then the heel spurs. I don't know why I said heel spurs. I hate when other reviewers say heel spurs instead of just saying heels. Whatever, it's a random nitpick, but the original toy just had its own heels, and then the back jaw of the Tasmanian devil mode became like the chest, which obviously didn't happen here, but yeah, whatever. And then you can just kind of bring up the head and rotate it around, and then you can bring these armatures up the rest of the way and then click them into place behind the chest there. Bring down the arms and then kind of rotate the ball joints there so that the elbows and hands are facing forward, and then you kind of bring the backpack down, and it actually does tab back into place here, and then you can bring this panel that was the back of the head basically and just kind of click it down like that, and there we have Tasmania Kid in his robot mode. And yeah, it looks pretty good. I really like the head sculpt. It's very animation accurate with those kind of like stylized anime proportions, which I think works pretty well. And I'm always going to have my gripes about cheating, and I do wish that they had found a way to do this, but I kind of get it, because like the original Snarl, like his head was in alt mode was just proportionally way too big to accommodate that being the chest. So I understand why they did it this way, especially because it wouldn't have looked super animation accurate. And there's other Beast Wars characters that have like alt mode details that just kind of look like parts of their alt mode, even though that's not where they end up, which is how it bothers me a little bit less. Like even, like if you think of like Depth Charge, for example, like he's got like manta ray eyes on his chest, even though he also has manta ray eyes on his legs, right? So it's not supposed to be that part, but it's just kind of like that kind of detail. Or Tarantulas has spider eyes on his head, even though he also has the spider eyes. It's a tangent, but either way, I'm okay with it. I would have preferred that they do it a different way, but it's okay. But yeah, in terms of articulation, the head is on a ball joint here, so it can rotate around like that, and he can look up a little bit for transformation, but it kind of bends it, like bumps into the back panel there. The shoulders are on ball joints, so they get a decent range there. This one, unfortunately, is pretty loose. I might have to tighten that up. But yeah, it's a little bit annoying how sort of floppy that is. The elbows are also on ball joints, which gives them a little bit over 90 degrees of bend, and then also gives them a bicep swivel. Wrists are on ball joints for transformation, so they get a pretty decent range there. They are just like flat open hands, so he can't like hold 5mm or 3mm accessories, unfortunately, aside from plugging them into the palm of his hand, which doesn't even work really with his own accessory, but whatever. Hips can go forward and back before they kind of bump into the backpack stuff and out to the side. It's got ball jointed knees, which get a thigh swivel and then about 90 degrees of bend at the knee there. And then if you bring them up, they do kind of tab back into place. So you sort of have to have his legs a little bit bent if you want to be using that rotation, but whatever. And then the feet are also on ball joints, so they can rotate around like that and then kind of bend forward and back a little bit, and then obviously you can adjust the heel here as well. For his weapon, what you're supposed to do is just peg it into the underside of his arm, which in all the promo images they show it like this, where he's kind of got the like gorilla arms thing going on, but has like the weapon as like a Megatron style fusion cannon. I prefer to keep the elbows facing forward, but then it kind of bumps into the backpack, which is a bit annoying. So if you rotate it around like this just for storage, it stays okay, but still kind of annoying. I wish that there was like a place to store this on his back. Just flipping that off the table here. Because it's like this could have just been a peg hole. instead of that square tab. I guess you can kind of get it into these spots, but it doesn't like stay or anything. Again, just, not really given any sort of priority to having this store nicely in robot mode when it would have been real easy is just kind of annoying to me, but whatever. But yeah, so in terms of him actually using his weapon, that's the only thing you can really do, because otherwise he's got to, geez, I'm dropping this tail all over the place, but he doesn't have a 5mm port on his hand. He's got a 3mm port on his hand, and this is a 5mm peg. So the only way he can hold his weapon in his hand is like that, which is nothing. So that's a little bit strange to me, but yeah, whatever. It's not, again, not great weapon integration, but it's at least it has kind of a place to go there. But yeah, I'm not crazy about that, but yeah, what can you do? But yeah, in terms of comparisons in this mode, here he is again with Sideswipe and Rat Trap, just for those standard size comparisons. So you can see pretty much the exact same height as Rat Trap there. And then here he is again with the other Beast Wars, the second cast members that I've got here. Most of them are a little bit cut off here. But yeah, with Bone Crusher or Bighorn, Leo Prime or Lio Convoy, and Baboom or Apache and Scuba / Clawjaw, whichever, I tend to prefer Lio Convoy, and then the rest of them I kind of prefer the American names. But yeah, still, I think that they all look pretty good together. Just kind of missing, I think Diver was the only other member of the main cast. It'd be cool to get a new version of Diver, because then we'd also be getting a new version of Spitter from Beast Wars, which would be cool. But yeah, no, I think these guys all look pretty good together. Obviously, it'd be nice to get updates as well of Baboom and Bone Crusher and Clawjaw, just because each of these figures kind of have their own individual problems, but they're all decent. As I knock them over, we can take them off screen. But yeah, for all intents and purposes, this is still a pretty good little figure. I've got my issues with it. I wish the shoulder wasn't floppy. I don't love the way that the weapon worked, and I don't love the cheating, but otherwise still pretty good little figure. Nice sculpted detail, looks good in both modes, and yeah, pretty decent articulation. But yeah, that's pretty much all there is to him. If you enjoy my videos, make sure to leave a like and consider subscribing to the channel. I do reviews every Tuesday, Thursday, and Sunday. Without further ado, here we have Transformers I almost said Infernac Universe. Transformers Legacy United Beast Wars Universe Tasmania Kid.